Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Midday News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Now the news in full. Nigeria stood in solemn reflection as the nation honored its fallen heroes at the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day, marked by an emotional parade and wreath-laying ceremony at the National Arcade in Abuja. Kikelomo Okere has details.
At the National Arcade in Abuja, silence filled the air as memories of sacrifice and service took center stage. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, led the country in paying tribute to officers and men of the Nigerian Armed Forces who paid the ultimate price in defense of the nation. The ceremony began with laying of wreath, first by the Vice President on behalf of the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, followed by leaders of the National Assembly and the judiciary, service chiefs, veterans, and families of the fallen heroes. A minute of silence followed as prayers were offered for the repose of the souls of the departed and for peace, unity, and security across the country. In a deep symbolic moment, white pigeons were released by the Vice President into the sky, representing peace, hope, freedom, and nation's collective prayers that the sacrifice of the fallen heroes will lead to lasting unity and security in Nigeria. As the pigeons soared, many in attendance watched in quiet reflection, some holding back tears. The solemn mood then transitioned into the military parade as the contingent of the Nigerian Army, Navy, and Air Force marched with discipline and precision. A powerful reminder that the spirit of the fallen lives on through those still in service. For families of the fallen heroes, the ceremony was both painful and proud, a national acknowledgement that their loved ones are remembered and honored. As the last-minute salute was rendered, Nigeria renewed its vows never to forget the courage, sacrifice, and service of its fallen heroes. Kikelomo Okere, Global Television News.
Benue State House joined the rest of the nation to honor Nigeria's fallen heroes as Governor Hyacinth Alia announced scholarship for the children of deceased soldiers and financial support to widows of military personnel who paid the ultimate price in defense of the country. Governor Alia made the announcement at the 2026 Award for Armed Forces Remembrance and Celebration Day at the IBB Square in Makurdi, where he described the military as the backbone of the peace currently enjoyed in the state. Felicity Ndere reports.
Under a clear Makurdi sky, military formations, veterans and security agencies assembled at the IBB Square for a solemn but a colorful ceremony to mark the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance and Celebration Day. Governor Hyacinth Alia revealed the guard of honor, commending the bravery and discipline of Nigeria's defenders, and laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldiers in tribute to those who gave their lives in service to the nation. Speaking after the ceremony, Governor Alia announced educational scholarships for the children of the fallen soldiers and financial support for widows, reaffirming his administration's commitment to those left behind.
Because for some time back we were in the headlines of news for wrong reasons, the insurgencies and the attacks. It is peace is relatively returned to the state. And I thank God, I thank the federal government, I thank our president for his resilience and continued support to our state. So it is now left to all of us to sustain this freedom, and they gave this to us, the platter of gold with their lives.
Families of the fallen heroes were not left out.
We are from different homes. We carry different emblems at home. Some women cannot even fend for their children. So we want the government to get closer to us, just as the governor of Benue State has promised, so that when he empowers us, we'll be able to help our families.
There's no community in Nigeria here you will not find a serviceman. So Nigerian Legion stand the best position of securing this country. All these security challenges, if Nigerian Legion is to be involved, properly involved, engaged.
As Nigeria reflects on the courage of its armed forces, today's ceremony served as a reminder that the path to lasting peace lies in unity, sacrifice, and unwavering support for those who stood on the front lines. In Makurdi, Felicity Ndere, reporting for Global Television News.
Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma has announced fresh financial support of 600 million for fallen heroes, security personnel as Nigeria marks the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. The governor says security remains the core mandate of his administration, 6 years after assuming office. Our correspondent Amarachi Ibe reports.
Imo State joins the rest of the country to mark the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day with a ceremony held at the NDBC Carlos Square in Owerri. Governor Hope Uzodinma says the day is set aside to honor officers and men of the armed forces who paid the supreme price in defense of the country. Speaking at the event, the governor announces a new tranche of financial support for families of fallen servicemen and women who lost their lives securing the state.
We will not wait for tomorrow to show that we care for those who gave everything for our peace. Today, we'll be handing out here on this ground the sum of 600 million naira to the families of our fallen heroes.
The governor commended President Bola Tinubu for restructuring the nation's security architecture and strengthening the fight against terrorism and other forms of insecurity, as he called on young people in Imo State to enlist in the armed forces and other security agencies, warning that failure to do so could affect the state's future representation in the security sector.
I must therefore at this point commend our President and Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for his decisive action in rejigging our national security architecture by going all out to confront insecurity and designating all non-state armed groups as terrorists.
The ceremony features rock-laying, prayer for peace and security in the country, and other symbolic activities in honor of fallen and service personnel. From the NDBC Carlos Square in Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
Still from Imo State, Governor Hope Uzodinma has marked his 6 years in office and the second anniversary of his second tenure with a Thanksgiving Mass at the Government House Chapel in Owerri. The service is presided over by the Catholic Archbishop of Owerri Ecclesiastical Province, His Grace, Most Reverend Lucia Ugoji. Again, Amarachi Ibe reports.
It is the moment of thanksgiving and reflection as Governor Hope Uzodinma, alongside top government officials, political leaders, clergy, and other invited guests, gathered at the Government House Chapel, Owerri, to mark 6 years of his administration. The special Thanksgiving Mass also marked the second year of the governor's second tenure in office. Presiding over the Holy Mass, Catholic Archbishop of Owerri Ecclesiastical Province, His Grace, Most Reverend Lucius Ugoji, in his homily, commended the governor's leadership as he enumerated laudable projects of the governor in the state.
Your Excellency, we likewise wish to commend your administration for the remarkable improvements in the security situation in the state, which made it possible for many people to travel to their villages during the last Christmas celebration.
We are firmly convinced that with time, the roads leading to the rural communities in the state would also have habilitated to promote social and economic activities.
In his anniversary address, Governor Zodima thanked God for guidance, protection, and wisdom over the years. The governor says his administration will continue to consolidate on gains already recorded in infrastructure, security, economic development, and adds that rebuilding Imo requires a collective effort.
I'll do my best to the ability of what a man can do to encourage a smooth succession so that there will be peace in Imo State. I'll do my best to implement and encourage Oyere Waneya area. But you must know that it must be one man at a time.
The event highlights the governor's position that leadership is both a privilege and a responsibility to be guided by accountability and service to the people of Imo State. From Government House Chapel, Owerri, Amarachi Ibe reporting for Global TV News.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, that is NDLEA, has intensified efforts to curb the supply and abuse of hard drugs in the country, with the deployment of officers across Nigeria's land, sea, and air borders to intercept illicit drugs coming into the country and leaving the country. The Deputy Commandant General and Director, Asset and Financial Investigation of the agency, Dr. Ibrahim Abdul, disclosed these in an exclusive interview with Global Television. Zarau Nasir brings us that report.
As Nigeria puts up a tough fight against drug abuse, cartels and patrons are busy adjusting their tactics in circumventing security agencies and the hurdles set by the law. What are the implications of this reality? We find out in this report.
Drug abuse, particularly among youths, has continued to pose a serious threat to public health, national productivity, and social stability in Nigeria. Experts warn that early exposure to hard drugs increases the risk of addiction and long-term health challenges, with far-reaching physical, mental, social, and economic consequences. Medical professionals further link drug abuse to mental health disorders, noting that young people who abuse drugs are more vulnerable to depression, anxiety, personality disorders, and other behavioral problems. In response, the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency says it has strengthened its strategy to cut off the supply of illicit drugs at source. The Deputy Commander General and Director of Assets and Financial Investigation, Dr. Ibrahim Abdul, explains that NDLEA officers have been strategically deployed to land borders, seaports, and airports to monitor and intercept drugs being smuggled into and out of the country.
Whatever NDLEA is doing is by virtue of what Section 3 of the NDLEA Act Cap N30 provided. The agency that has the sole responsibility of tackling hard drugs in Nigeria, to the exclusion of all other law enforcement agencies, is NDLEA. And that is why we put in place officers in land, sea, and air borders to check drugs coming and going out of the country, and also officers in state commands and also strategic locations in this country.
Dr. Abdul says, beyond enforcement, the agency is also intensifying preventive measures, especially among youths. He explains that traditional rulers and religious leaders have been integrated into NDLEA sensitization programs to help educate communities on the dangers of drug abuse. These structures, he says, are aimed at grassroots sensitization and early intervention to discourage drug abuse and related crimes.
There are so many things put in place by NDLA under the leadership of General Marwa. First, we have the war against drug abuse, which is a tackle, which is meant for doing advocacies to so many places to sensitize people on the dangers and menaces of drug abuse through the usage of traditional institutions, teachers in schools, religious leaders, and so many other sectors of the society.
As the NDLEA intensifies border surveillance and community engagement, stakeholders say sustained awareness and collective responsibility remain key to protecting Nigeria's youth from the dangers of drug abuse. Zahra Nasir, reporting for Global TV.
Proper sanitization and environmental hygiene have been identified as a critical in preventing the spread of Lassa fever. Dr. Aisha Ladan Musa of Federal Medical Center in Abuja made this known in an exclusive interview with Global Television, emphasized that the best protection remains simple hygiene and public awareness. Again, Zahra Nasir gives us the details.
Lassa fever is an acute viral illness and hemorrhagic fever caused by the Lassa virus. It is endemic to parts of West Africa, particularly Nigeria, Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. The virus is primarily transmitted to humans through contact with the urine or feces of infected multimammat rats or through direct contact with an infected person's bodily fluids. Dr. Aisha Ladan Musa of Federal Medical Center Abuja explained that raising community awareness and educating people on how the disease is transmitted remains essential strategies in reducing infections. The doctor said the greatest knowledge is knowing how to prevent Lassa fever, not just how to cure it.
The prevention goes beyond we individuals. It starts from awareness. Okay, so the most important thing in Lassa fever is community awareness. We have to inform educate the people on mode of transmission, the causal organism, and how it is transmitted from one to another. Because the greatest knowledge is how to prevent, is not how to cure. Yes, so as outside that, also environmental and environmental factors also play a role, like sanitation.
In Abuja, some residents said they are already taking preventive measures by covering their food, maintaining good hygiene, and keeping rats away from their homes.
I know Lassa fever is a disease that causes harm to the human immune system. By making sure you're staying in a clean environment, because it's being transmitted by rats. So if you're living in an environment that is very dirty, they would easily have access to your environment, and then they would easily...
I know it's a disease caused by rodents that comes out of rats and it's related from the rat class. Avoiding deaths, because they come around deaths, they come, and when the time they also come around deaths, they feed on your food that you keep in your kitchen or wherever on your dining, and then you also have to also protect yourself from your dispenser.
I know it's one of the deadly fever that keep people fast, and I know it's introduced from rats. And not keeping our food very well, but not covering our food stuff or other things.
Public health issues pose a huge challenge in Nigeria, putting more pressure on the country's already overstretched healthcare systems. However, the outbreak of Lassa fever has further complicated the situation. Zahra Nasir, reporting for Global TV News.
You're watching the live broadcast of Midday News. Midday News continues after this weather forecast, plus business and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Hello, you're welcome to the weather forecast for Friday. An improvement is expected in the weather condition across the country, as moderate dust haze is expected in the north and north-central region. However, poorer visibilities are expected in parts of Zamfara, Katsina, Kano, and Jigawa states, where horizontal visibilities are likely to reduce to 1,000 meters or less. Over the southern parts of the country, increased moisture influx combined with lingering dust particles is expected to serve as a particulate matter leading to cloud buildup. And as a result, partly cloudy skies is expected in the southern parts of the country with chances of morning thunderstorms in parts of Cross River and Akwa Ibom states. We advise motorists, individuals with respiratory conditions to please take necessary precaution. We also advise our airline operators to visit our eFlight folder portal for regular weather updates. Stay with us for the temperature forecast. I am Theodora Itzum. Thank you for watching.
Let's bring you some stories from the business world, where the Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives Benjamin Kalu, has called for urgent collective action to fix the nation's food security challenges, warning that agriculture must move from the margin to the center of Nigeria's development strategy. Speaking at the annual general meeting of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, that is AFAN, in Abuja, the Deputy Speaker stressed that unity among farmers, government, and the private sector is critical to transforming Nigeria's agricultural sector. The National Assembly's correspondent, Aniete Patrick, completes the report.
Addressing the forum, Kalu described agriculture as a powerful tool for job creation, economic stability, and youth retention, noting that productivity gains in farming directly translate into national stability. He urged farmers to organize better, adopt modern technology, and increase productivity, while challenging government at all levels to engage more deliberately with agricultural stakeholders.
Organize, enhance technology, increase your productivity. You are not asking for charity. You are building wealth and building a nation. Demand the infrastructure and services you deserve.
The Deputy Speaker also called on state governments to back their commitment with funding, recommending that at least 5% of states' budgets be allocated to agricultural infrastructure, driven by data and accountability. He did not spare the private sector, urging investors to take bold risks in processing, logistics, and market systems, while working with smallholder farmers as partners rather than vendors.
This might charge to the state government. Allocate at least 5% of your budget to agricultural infrastructure. Implement the market mapping framework we have pioneered. Use data to target investments. Hold yourselves accountable for agricultural output and job creation in your states.
The Deputy Speaker stressed that Nigeria already has the resources, policies, and partnerships needed to achieve food security, but lacks unified will. With rising food prices and growing concerns over food access, the call places renewed pressure on stakeholders to move from rhetoric to results in securing Nigeria's agricultural future. Aniete Patrick, reporting for Global TV News.
On the foreign scene, Uganda's opposition leader Bobi Wine says he would call for protests if incumbent President Yoweri Museveni rigs this week's election. Wine also stated that he would welcome an intervention by the United States, acknowledging that the protests are likely to provoke more crackdown. Let's get hooked up with Uyi Agbomofuegbe as he brings us details.
Voting had yet to start in many areas after polls were due to open
as biometric machines used to verify voters' identity were malfunctioning and ballot boxes undelivered. President Museveni is widely expected to win a 7th term in office thanks to his total control of the state and security apparatus. Bobby Wine, on his part, has also said the ongoing internet shutdown is a deliberate attempt to allegedly facilitate rigging.
As we hold our general elections in Uganda, the world should be reminded that we are holding elections in the dark. The internet has been switched off across the country. This is done in order to facilitate the intended rigging of the regime. Otherwise, why would the people of Uganda be denied the right to communicate, and why the Ugandan election should be held in the dark?
More than 20 million people have registered to vote in the East African country, with 81-year-old Museveni widely expected to continue his 4-decade rule. His main opponent is singer-turned-politician Bobby Wine, 43, real name Robert Kyagulanyi, who is taking a second run at the presidency after his 2021 campaign was met with violent repression and alleged rigging. Uyi Agmofwegbe, reporting for Global TV News.
Finally, from the weather sports, the Confederation of African Football, that is CAF, has unveiled eAFCON, a digital version of the Total Energy African Cup of Nations, marking the organization's first foray into esports. CAF says the initiative is a key part of its commercial strategy, developed in partnership with Konami through the game eFootball, and aimed to engage younger fans while diversifying revenue streams. The continental body described eAFCON as a significant step for the African eSport ecosystem, signaling a bold expansion of African football into the gaming world. And that's it on Midday News. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @GlobalTVNG. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Thanks for watching.